Hello, Arthur here, and since you're here, you are likely watching me with your eyes and listening to me with your ears. Even if you're blind or deaf, you're still likely listening to me or watching with subtitles. The ability to see and hear things are two of our many senses we have to experience the world around us. Contrary to popular belief, we actually have way more than 5 senses. These include our sense of temperature, sense of time, and sense of balance, as well as proprioception, the ability to know where our body parts are in space, and vestibular sense, knowing the direction of gravity. And this is just to name a few. Our senses are usually very good at taking in the world around us and creating an accurate model inside our minds. But it's not perfect 100% of the time. Mistakes do happen, and when they do, they're called illusions. When we think of illusions, the first thing to come to mind are images like these. We're all familiar with optical illusions, so you may be surprised to learn that there are illusions for almost all of our senses. There are audio illusions, tactile illusions, temperature illusions, taste illusions, temporal illusions. Let's take a look at some of these today. First off, audio illusions, such as the McGurk effect. A sound is played and is paired with an image typically associated with a completely different sound, creating the perception of a third sound. It's also possible to hear lyrics when there are none. In this video, Monotone Tim takes several famous songs and converts the MP3 format into a MIDI format. The software used can't separate out individual instruments, and so converts everything, including the lyrics, into one single track, meaning all aspects of a given song are converted into a piano format. The resulting audio sounds weird, but if you know the lyrics to the original song, you will hear singing amongst the somewhat grating piano noise. An example of a tactile illusion is the Aristotle illusion. Try this by getting out a pea or a marble or any small spherical object and crossing your fingers before rubbing them over the rounded shapes. Instead of feeling just one marble, you'll feel as if you're touching 2. This happens because our brains aren't used to receiving information in this way. If you use your right hand to carry this out, then the left side of your index finger and the right side of your middle finger are both touching the marble. This only usually happens when both fingers are touching completely different stimuli, and hence the illusion. A similar illusion can be found by doing the same, but instead with an edge, creating the illusion of 2 parallel edges. Another example of a tactile illusion is the thermal grim illusion, whereby if you place the middle finger in cold water whilst putting the index and ring fingers into warm water, the brain will be tricked into thinking that the middle finger is in hot water and that the other 2 are in cold water. A more disturbing tactile illusion is the phantom limb illusion, where amputees feel a sensation that their missing leg is still attached, with as many as 80 to 100% of amputees experiencing some form of this illusion. The best example of an illusion of taste can be found by pouring out 2 glasses of the exact same wine and adding red food colouring to one of the glasses, and then give it to someone for them to taste test. They will taste the faux red wine, and their brains will be tricked into experiencing the fruity and vibrant flavours associated with red wine. When it comes to olfactory illusions, however, well, very little is known about illusions of the nose, with many believing that they don't even exist. The closest thing currently known about is phantosmia, or phantom odour, whereby an odour is detected that isn't actually there. However, this is more of a hallucination than an illusion, as something that is not there is being detected. The best known example of a temporal illusion is the well-known feeling that time seems to speed up as we get older. When I was a child, a year felt like a gargantuan amount of time. But this current year is going by so quickly. I mean, is it really October now? The best explanation for this is because as we get older, each year becomes a smaller and smaller fraction of our overall lifespan. If you'd lived for hundreds of years, it's quite possible that decades or centuries would fly by in much the same way. And you'd be saying things like, is the 17th century really 400 years ago now? Or, I can't believe that 1921 is 100 years ago now. It feels like only yesterday. But maybe not on that last one, however, as we often perceive a time period to be longer if more change occurred within it. And the world changed a lot over the course of the past 100 years. Some illusions actually involve multiple senses. An example of this concerns the Mueller-Lyer illusion, where 2 lines the same length appear to be different lengths because of the placement of arrows on the end. Find an image of this illusion and proceed to feel the length of each line. You may feel that the longer appearing line feels physically longer as well. You see, it turns out that our senses are linked, which can be demonstrated by the good old blindfolded nose plug taste test experiment. If you blindfold someone and put nose plugs up their nose, while simultaneously feeding them various foods, they will often guess wrong without the aid of eyes, nose or fingers to tell. As we have seen from these illusions, our perceptions of the world don't always match up with the way things actually are. Which brings us to the final illusion, the illusion of reality itself. Our sense organs take in information about the world around us, but our brains process these signals into our experience of the world. An apple is not inherently red. Redness is not some intrinsic quality of an apple, in the same way the diameter or weight is, but rather a subjective quality. Sure, redness is caused by an object reflecting light with a wavelength of 700 nanometers and absorbing all other wavelengths. But it's our brains that create the experience and look of seeing the colour red. You can instinctively recognise the colour red, or blue, or green, or purple. But if I asked you to describe these colours to a blind person, it'd be basically impossible. I mean, how do you even describe it? You could say that blue is cold and red is hot. But that's just because we're used to seeing high and low temperatures represented with red and blue respectively. A blind person has no concept of any of this. Illusions like the one in this video show us how limited our ability to truly perceive the world actually is. Trying to imagine a new colour is as impossible as trying to imagine extra dimensions beyond 3. And yet, there are colours beyond the visible light spectrum, and string theory predicts extra dimensions. Thanks for watching.